Welcome to Outreach Programming. I'm Mary Gerasi, and today we have members from the Farm City Festival, which happened about a month ago. Welcome to the show. On my left, I have Stephen Gran, who's the manager with the Hillsborough Economic Development. And I know that's not the right title, but tell me exactly what your title is.
I'm the manager for agriculture industry development with the Economic Development Department.
Wow, quite a title.
Yes.
Sounds like you do a lot of work.
My major focus is working with the agriculture industry in Hillsborough County, trying to maintain its economic sustainability.
Okay, and our second guest is Sean Crocker, who's the president of Hillsborough County Farm Bureau.
That's correct.
Welcome to the show, Sean.
Thank
you. And the lovely Chip Hinton. How you doing, Chip, with the Florida Strawberry Growers Association?
Hello, Mary.
Did you bring me any strawberries?
I should have, shouldn't
Yeah.
I? We'll have to take care of that.
I'm not going to treat him nice in the show. He forgot my strawberries. No, just teasing. I'm dieting anyway, which, without all the whipped cream and the other crazy stuff you get at the festival, right?
Oh, strawberries are outstanding as far as nutrition goes.
Yeah, as long as you can eat them plain. I don't think I've ever been able to bring myself to do that. You do such a good job growing them. So anyway, let's get started. We just recently had the Farm City Festival, bringing dozens of different vendors. We had people who grow their own herbs. We had the strawberry folks. We had the Poultry Association. Tell me a little bit about how you were tied into that event.
Well, this was our third annual Farm City Festival, and the purpose of the festival is to celebrate National Farm City Week, which is a nationwide celebration, always declared the week before Thanksgiving. And the purpose is to really celebrate the impact that agriculture has on our community and the interaction between the rural community and the urban community to form our agricultural bonds.
And everybody seems to know about the strawberries and the oranges and maybe some grapefruits, but there's a lot more to it. I mean, obviously, there was dozens of vendors and associations. How big is the agricultural / fruit industry / vegetable growing industry here in Florida?
Well, in Florida, it's over a $6 billion industry. Here in Hillsborough County, we have almost 3,000 farms, the second most of any county in the state of Florida.
Wow.
And in terms of production agriculture, the value of production, we're the third largest in the state of Florida, with sales of over $650 million annually.
And it's kind of odd because the farmers in many places in the United States of America have been overlooked. They have lost their farms, they've been subsidized. It's been tough out in the Midwest and Texas and stuff like that. But Florida doesn't seem to be having that problem, or are they?
Well, there's a lot of issues we're facing. One of them is the impact of urbanization and availability of natural resources that we're competing with the urban
We're
community.
losing orange groves, I read that.
Yes, yeah. A lot of it has to do with economic considerations like trade issues or diseases that the industry is facing. But in terms of the health of our industry, here in Florida, we produce a lot of high-value crops, which do compete very well with the urban impacts that are being created by population growth. So even though there has been a loss of agricultural acreage, we still maintain a large economic impact because we have filled some niche markets with our products.
It seems like it's a healthy industry all the way around right now.
Yes.
That's great. We're doing something right in Hillsborough County, thanks to you. You're being at the helm, I'm sure. Sean, president of the Hillsborough County Farm Bureau. Tell me, what is the Farm Bureau and what does it do?
Farm Bureau actually is an organization that encompasses all agriculture. Here in Hillsborough County, we have 4,800 family members. That means it's not just one individual, it includes the whole family, which coincides with what Stephen said with us having the second largest number of farms in the state of Florida is very intriguing from a Hillsborough County when it comes to a standpoint of agriculture, because often with Tampa Bay, we're recognized as being more of an urban instead of a rural community, but really we represent agriculture as a whole in every aspect, from aquaculture to nurseries to strawberries to cattle ranch and citrus.
Am I wrong, correct me if I am, that the aquaculture, the raising of tropical fish, is the #1 industry as far as agrarian? Is that correct?
Not today, not in Hillsborough County.
Thanks for correcting me.
That's all right. The nursery and ornamental industry today is #1 in Hillsborough County. When you get into the top 5, they run a pretty close jockeying back and forth for the value of the commodities. But that could be on a given year depending on
could change.
the circumstances.
Sure. And why do you think, I'll get right back to you if you want to chime in, why do you think our wonderful farming agrarian culture gets overlooked as to Tampa's the next great city, we're all about the arts and everything, and then it seems like the industry doesn't get brought in at all. It's like a little bit PR problem. Is that what's going on? You need to elevate things?
Well, we've got a wonderful story to sell, and sometimes we do a poor job selling it. Being on majority on the east and south end of the county, where the majority of the agriculture lives, sometimes it does get forgotten because it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. But recognizing that's essentially what our community was built up on. We had access to the rail, we had access to easy transportation outlets, plus the port gave us a great opportunity to be able to develop our agriculture here in this community. Decades ago, that gave us easy transportation outlets. So that's why agriculture became so big in Hillsborough County, on top of the unbelievable fertile soil that we have in the county. So yes, it sometimes gets forgotten because of the push for big business, but it is, the #2 business in the county, which is agriculture.
And you can't drive down 41 without seeing the tomato factories, the orange plants out in Sarasota and Bradenton. I mean, to me, it's very viable. It's very visible, but it's surprising, I would say, to me, to know that Hillsborough County is the second
Well, it's representative.
county of growth in the state of Florida. I did not know that.
Well, a lot of people have become removed from the farm. Only 1.9% of the people are directly involved with the actual act of farming. So when you take that, that's just a small percentage of the population. So it's very easily to get separated from the farm and just realize that I have the convenience of going to the grocery store and understanding that we have a safe, affordable, and abundant food supply in our grocery stores, and really kind of forget about the farmer that's out in the field turning the soil. And it does kind of go out of the mind.
And what did you want to say?
And that's the #1 reason why we hold the Farm City Festival, is to raise the awareness of the urban community of the importance of agriculture and that it still exists in Hillsborough County.
And the food was good.
Yeah.
Let's bring in Chip over here. What did you want to say, Chip?
Well, I don't think that people understand just how unique the situation that we have here in Hillsborough County really is. We have been very successful in Hillsborough County in telling our story to the political influence of our community, so that we can utilize the resources that we have here to make agriculture a potentially prosperous part of our community. We are unique in the fact that we recognize that the commodities that we have here have an interesting niche. People don't realize, for example, that in Hillsborough County, 4% of the acreage that we have produces about 80% of the agricultural value.
Wow, what a great ratio.
And most of that ag value is within a 5-mile radius of either Interstate 4 or Interstate 75. So our classic consideration of what agricultural land is only half true. We have the traditional agriculture, which is the open space functions, the cow-calf operations, the silviculture and so forth, which it really has a lot of acreage associated with it. But then we have the intensive agriculture, the aquaculture you mentioned, strawberries, tomatoes, ornamental horticulture, which provides a very high dollar value and is actually synergistic with increasing populations because it increases land value and gives us an opportunity to borrow more money for the high intensity crops. That's why, even though the acreage in Hillsborough County has gone down a little bit, the value of agriculture has gone up tenfold in the past 20 years.
Which is exceptional, I think, because once again, as I was saying, the Midwest farmers are looking at subsidies. You're actually thriving.
Well, and the reality is that most of the commodities in Florida are not subsidized.
That's right.
Virtually
That's
all
right.
perishable commodities receive no subsidies. Yeah. And so what we have done is we have been able to convince the people that make a decision on policy that it's extremely important to foster a $650 million industry that you don't have to go out and recruit if all you have to do is to make that commodity, that portion of our community prosperous. Then we need to recognize those things that we need to do to make it prosperous.
Now, and you're with the Florida Strawberry Association, and That's the star of the show come February, the Plant City Strawberry Festival. Everyone I know goes. They have a blast. There's a lot of PR going on there. We do the show. We did the show last year at the festival. I learned a little bit about it. Can you tell me the impact of just the strawberry part of this huge industry, obvious, variety of industries here?
The value of strawberries in this community is about $200 million, which is about almost a third of the total value within our community. We have done some opportunity cost value of what the value of strawberries would be on the community over a 50-year period, a lifetime, a productive lifetime. And the reality is that a single acre of strawberries has almost a $5 million impact upon our community over the next 50 years. So these kinds of information assist us in making decisions on land use into the future. We have 7,000 acres at $5 million an acre. That's a $35 billion impact if we're able to keep strawberries productive within this community for the next 50 years.
And what kind of help do you need to keep strawberries productive in this community?
It's really quite simple. Agriculture is a business. In order to stay in business, you have to make money. The major reason that agriculture suffers in urban communities is that it costs more to produce in urban communities because there are more regulations that come with people. So what we have tried to do through Stephen's able involvement is we've tried to bring forth those functions within our regulatory process, which allows us to meet the intent of the regulations, but minimizing the impact upon the user groups like agriculture. We have looked at things from an entirely different perspective. We try to minimize the impact of non-agriculture upon agriculture rather than the other way around. And when you do that, you increase the potential for reducing the cost of production, increasing the profitability, and keeping agriculture within an urban community.
So you know how it works, it's working, it's been successful so far, you feel supported?
Oh, we've had nothing but 7-0 votes with our Board of County Commissioners over the past 10 years. It's been just a hallmark. It's been just an outstanding success story for agriculture in an urban community.
Talk to me about produce in general. Is this a produce-friendly kind of town? I live in Brandon. My mom goes down the street, gets the tomatoes that a small farmer will put out, some fresh corn that's grown locally in Plant City or Dover. And explain to me, please, how the produce that we develop and grow here in Florida, does it go into our cash and carry? Is it in our Publix? Is it in the places I shop? Or do I need to go out of my way to really support local farmers and local industry?
Well, the grocery stores, just like any other business, are in it for a profit, and they many times go out for the low-cost producer in order to get their commodities in the store. So many times of the year there are Hillsborough County or locally produced products in the grocery stores, but we have developed a program here locally to also promote Hillsborough grown products. We have our own logo where the grocery stores can identify the products that they have in stock that are locally grown, so that then the consumer can then purchase those products and know they're getting the freshest possible product from our local producers. But it is always a challenge to as a consumer to identify the locally grown produce. Yeah,
and maybe as little as 15 or 20 years ago, you had local produce markets. You had Angerossi over on Hillsborough where you could drive up and get 200 pounds of bananas at a certain price, and tomatoes and citrus to make your own juice, which we have the luxury of doing in this town.
I mean, the truth of the matter is about 95% of our produce is exported outside of our county. It goes up the East Coast or elsewhere in the United States. So most of our product does leave the county, and we only need a small portion of what we produce to meet our local needs during those times of years when we're in production.
So you're having a good economic basis through exportation.
Right.
The value comes in is when Florida is in the winter months, you're really in an opportunity window, because the rest of the country is either snowed in or under conditions where they cannot grow fresh fruits and vegetables. So Florida really becomes kind of the cornucopia or the salad bowl of the United States for fresh fruit and vegetables during the winter months.
That makes perfect sense.
And that's when we really gain our opportunity to grow our products and to ship them out to be export. And getting back to the value of a label and our consumers recognizing the Hillsborough Grown label or even the Fresh from Florida label about products that are grown right here in their local community, and buying those products and not products from other countries even. So really, if a consumer really it takes a little time, but you've got to pay attention to the labels in the stores, and they can really do a good job getting products, from their local community.
And it doesn't hurt to drive out to Plant City and buy a box of strawberries every once in a while, does it?
Certainly doesn't. And
it's
Sean
fun,
was
too.
saying the winter strawberry capital of the world is more than just lip service. We do, in fact, produce the majority of the nation's strawberries throughout the winter months.
And is there any kind of competition nationwide that you've been able to excel in? I know there's other strawberry growers. I know we get a lot of produce from Chile, Mexico, and stuff like that. How do you position yourself in that market? Sounds like you have an avenue, but it's probably competitive.
Well, it is competitive, but our niche is really our climate. We produce when other areas are not able to produce. And strawberries, for instance, have been expanding their market window earlier and earlier into the season because of the varieties that have been developed for Florida climates. But I just want to step back a second. We were talking about the locally grown products. Our program, the agriculture program within the Economic Development Department, we do produce a directory of farms that sell to the public. So there is an opportunity for consumers to buy directly from the farm by using this directory that we put together.
Do you have a website for that directory or a number or someplace somebody could call on this show to find out what that is?
Yes, you could look at www.hillsboroughcounty.org and click on the agricultural directory. It's on the front page of the website.
Thanks, because I know my mom has a lot of pride. Her great uncle had a farm in Texas, and she grew up on that farm. She used to pick a tomato and eat it right off the little branches. So she was very adamant about trying to buy as much produce as possible locally. She doesn't like to buy it in the store, and in her eyes, it's just never quite as good. Are you promoting that kind of thing now? People, I think, are a little more health conscious about pesticides. Maybe they're looking for some organic vegetables, that's not picked green and shipped for 3 weeks, and then you get it and it just has no taste.
Well, there's trade-off there. When you go through the supply chain of having to come from the farm, go through the transportation time periods, sit in a cooler in a retail grocery store, there's some sacrifice you give on taste because it's got to take its time to go through the retail process. There's a lot of value when you can buy it straight from the farm, either a roadside stand or straight from the farmer, when you can pick it just in time. So when you pick it, you take it home and you're consuming it that evening. Because that red ripe strawberry or that blood red tomato from Ruskin, those two products, if you picked them when they're just that deep of a red, they would never make it through the supply chain.
Yeah, they would disintegrate by the time
they would disintegrate, the first day out. And so there's trade-offs there as to what you're looking for as a consumer. From a pesticide whole consumer idea of what we do to our products, those products cost extremely too much, and it's kind of overplayed in my opinion. We can only afford to put down what's absolutely necessary. If we were putting a lot of cost into those, we would not be competitive in a worldwide marketplace. So what we use in the field is actually on a just needed basis.
Well, kind of moving farming into the new millennium, are you getting folks that are interested in starting organic farms? Are you getting little bites at hydroponics, which doesn't use the ground, and you can do warehouses and you can heat and control? Are you moving into the new millennium in any way?
Definitely. With the consumers or the culture that's in Hillsborough County, you're getting all slices of culture. People driving for traditionally grown products, aquaculture products, organically grown products, and you've got to fill those niches. And that's a lot of way where we can keep our value and keep our businesses profitable is by identifying those niches and growing for those niches, because that's where our profit lies in the future, is changing with the times.
Right, moving ahead.
Exactly.
I bought a bag of organic carrots one time and they were $3.99, but
And worth every penny.
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, maybe not nutritionally, there probably isn't that much difference
Right.
between one versus the other. but it costs so much more for that grower to produce it if he is true certified organic.
Absolutely, and I think people are more conscious because I meet moms who make their own baby food now. They make their own strained peas. They're making their own carrots. What do you see happening with the strawberry industry? I know you've been working with hybrids and more disease-resilient strawberries. I mean, it sounds like the technology is there to keep this industry alive.
It's a battle, and the fact that we have been producing strawberries in eastern Hillsborough County for 120 years does not give us any guarantee that we'll be around the next 100. So we have worked very hard in new varieties and the latest in conservation techniques for production, and are trying to stay ahead and maintain that little niche that we have of production. We have moved our marketing window 3 weeks in the past 15 years.
That's what I just heard, yeah.
And we now, instead of being a $50 million industry, we're a $200 million industry, just simply because we're producing 5 times more berries in the month of December, and we no longer produce in April. We have 40% more acreage, and yet we're using less water as an industry today than we were 20 years ago.
So you're working hand in hand with technology.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You can't do it without it anymore, is that correct?
Correct.
It's not the old man on the tractor doing a few things here and there. It sounds phenomenal. And the one thing I do like, and I think it's very well supported in this state, and you can back me up if you have anything to say about it, are the 4-H clubs, the farming industry. Gainesville has a very well-developed FSU, have all sorts of science programs, agrarian programs. These folks are getting master's and doctor's degrees. You know, it's not grandpa on his little tractor with a couple of kids farming anymore. It's big business. It's science. Is that correct?
Yeah, Hillsborough County, in terms of its support from the Institute of Food and Agricultural Sciences, and that's what you're referring to in Gainesville. We have 2 agricultural research centers in Hillsborough County. One specializes in tropical fish, and the other in row crops, meaning vegetables, strawberries, and ornamental plants. In addition, we have one of the largest extension offices in the state of Florida, which has specialists that work with the farmers also in those same areas, taking the technology that's developed at the research center and getting it to the farmers, in addition to the 4-H and home extension type programs.
And we now have a 4-year degree program at Hillsborough Community College where people can get a 4-year degree from the University of Florida in agriculture without leaving the county. Now, all 3 of us are products of the University of Florida in Ag School, and we certainly relish that particular opportunity. But there are place-bound people that find it difficult to get away, particularly older people, and this provides them with an opportunity to get that degree in agriculture, to stay up, get the technology, and stay up to date with those functions. We all give scholarships. We've given over 250 scholarships in the past 20 years to youngsters to go into higher education, because we recognize that's our future, whether they major in agriculture or otherwise. Finding people that have an understanding of agriculture, it's very important.
Wow. So it sounds like everything's moving up with new technology and education. It's not your grandfather's farm anymore, right? You had to keep up. You had to modify.
Research is key. I know with the influx of people in an urban community like this, we're always having to combat different pest disease that are brought in from other countries that we have to deal with. Also, the start of our industry, the kids that wear the blue and the green jackets in the FFA and the 4-H programs are the future of our agriculture. They need to be taught in the schools, because some of them are away from the farm, and to keep their interests sparred in agriculture so they can continue the legacy that we've developed and have growing.
And there are several high schools. I've actually been to several that teach raising of horses, equine studies, and cattle, the award-winning pig. You always got to go to see the big pig that the 6-year-old grew that's bigger than half a tent there. So the children seem to be enthusiastic. We did the Florida Strawberry Festival, and the 4-H was active, and the kids brought in the calves, and there was a lot of competition and a lot of education. So it sounds like not only do you have the support of the commissioners, but even the school system is propping you up. So I think the value of what you do is important. Can you see this going in any other direction? Are there some fears that maybe the suburban sprawl in the urban sprawl is going to take over. How do you feel you need to reposition yourself to stay alive with a lot of the things that are going on in this county, in this city?
Well, I think diversification is the key to maintaining our economic sustainability. Our high value crops do compete very well against the value that can be achieved through urbanization. So, even with the loss of some acreage in terms of pasture land and maybe silviculture and citrus groves, we still have maintained our economic impact through these high-valued crops. But that's not to say that those other uses aren't important. I think that that we as a community need to recognize the benefits that that we receive from open space, and in some way support the farmers. It's really a service they're providing to us by providing the open space the aquifer recharge that it supplies, wildlife habitat, and all those other benefits that we receive from agricultural land. It needs to be recognized, and we need to find a way to sustain those uses for the future.
Yeah, obviously we don't want the farm growers to be a thing of the past. They're so viable and important, as you've pointed out today, Chip.
One of the things that I think the point that we've gotten across is this is a tremendous success story. And while we want to continue with our success story here, we are now putting together packages to serve as templates for other communities similar to ours, so that they can take the leadership attempts that we've provided and change policy in their own urban communities so that agriculture throughout the country can survive.
So you're providing leadership as well. So there's education, leadership, technology. It's huge.
It's a wonderful world.
I wouldn't have thought that this much goes into this whole avenue of food and produce and growing herbs and ornamentals and fish plants. This was quite an education. Do you have anything left that you'd like to say about this?
I think once
We're winding down.
as we go to the future, we've got to stay open-minded and look for the innovative ways that we can keep agriculture alive along with our growing urban communities. I think if we learn how to be innovative and coexist together, I think we can be a very successful community going forward.
What about you, Chip? Any last words?
Oh, I'm just excited as I can be. You look at different facets of what we've done for the past 30 years and see the changes that we've made to this community and realize that we can move outside of this community, help others is very exciting.
How about you? Any last words about how you're, going to bring this further down the line and stay alive?
Well, my program has been in existence for 7 years, and we've achieved a lot in those 7 years. But I just feel that everything that they've said in terms of diversification and focusing on change for the better is the future.
Well, gentlemen, thanks for joining us. We are out of time. That went really fast, and I appreciate all your input. And thank you for joining me for Outreach Programming. Stay tuned for more programs as we bring you nonprofit agency organizations in Hillsborough County. Thanks.